up high, and we've got a training show for you today. And of course, it's all about the English Premier League, and all the leagues follow up as far as the balls for the biggest club talking about league competition in the world. Mainstream European football leagues officially resume today, and we'll be beaming our flashlights on the English Premier League, examining the chances of the teams that will be participating. We'll separate the pretenders from the contenders and ask critical questions. How and what did the EPL do differently to make itself the most adored league to follow? Joining me to do this is the usual suspect, Ikechukwu, and loads and loads of action. And all the way from the United Kingdom, we'll be having our man talking about Zishan Saeed, who will be joining us. And of course, he one time made the top 20 in the FPL, talking about the Fantasy Premier League. You know what that means? It's highly competitive. We have loads and loads of thousands of people and even millions are competing to be the best in the Fantasy Premier League. And this man, talking about Zishan Saeed, made the top 20 at a point in time. And of course, he's also gunning for the top 20 this 2025-2026 league season. He'll be joining us. He is also a marketing expert. And of course, he knows his way around the English Premier League all the way from the United Kingdom. He will be helping us understand the pulse of British citizens in the wake of a new citizen, and strap in as we take on a review of last season and a preview for this season. Ikechukwu, so much going into the season. Last season you ended as a Manchester United fan, and you're going into the season as a Chelsea fan.
Well,
just for one season.
I did that under duress, but it's good to be here, Jerry.
Under duress.
Yeah.
That's voluntarily. Okay, it's quite understandable.
Yes, of course. It's good to be here today. I mean, it's another season. A lot of football activities to be expected. A lot of actions. Who is going to actually pick this season? Looking at the acquisitions by top teams in Europe generally, particularly in England. Manchester City key player, talking about Rodri, still injured, and they've lost De Bruyne. I mean, a lot to be expected, really. I mean, coaches are actually, improving their game. Thomas Frank, a few days ago, almost took the Super Cup from Enrique. It tells you that it's going to be not just a battle of quality and talent in England. It's going to be a battle of wit, because managers have really stepped up. So it's a good day to talk football here, Jerry, in the locker room.
All right, of course, hopefully the Zishan will be joining us. And after 82 long days of a Club World Cup, non-stop preseason tours and transfer sagas that has had us hooked up, the wait is over. And of course, the Premier League is back tonight. And of course, Liverpool, definitely you understand why. And sporting the Liverpool jersey and the muffler, you never walk alone. And of course, it gives you the feel of what it means to be the champion of the English Premier League. And they'll be defending their title in their first game against the Bournemouth under the Anfield Lights before Manchester City face Wolves on Saturday. And Arsenal clash with Manchester United on Sunday, and it promises to be a blockbuster fixture. And of course, taking a look at Liverpool from last season and this season, are we going to see a different team entirely? Because is it the same team that won the league last season? We'll be expecting going into the new season, taking a look at the side so far, the transition from what we saw last season and going into the season.
Well, it's not entirely going to be a different team, because I mean, what makes a team is actually what happens in the middle of the park, because they're actually the ones that actually determine the flow and how a team actually appear on the pitch. So the Liverpool team, the midfield is still very much intact. I don't think there's any major change in that particular team, apart from Florian Wirtz, who I think Liverpool might actually be even deploying in wide area in many of the time. So the likes of Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, and of course the Mercury Argentine. I'm talking about McAllister will always be at the middle, at the thick of things for Liverpool, pulling the strings. So I don't think it's going to be an entirely new team for Liverpool. But what I think they have is a team that has actually not changed, apart from the fact that yes, the attackers. I think this season they might really have it a little slow, and Also, the pressing game, how Liverpool attackers usually press. I don't think they'll press as much as they've been doing in the last couple of years. No Jota, no Luis Diaz, and of course, the Darwin Núñez. These guys are actually, pressers. So Ekitike and the Dutchman Cody Gakpo are not, very strong pressers. So, but I think, totally. The overall of it, Liverpool's outlook is definitely going to be very much the same thing we saw last season. Aside the fact that the width area, yes, they've covered the right fullback position, where I think they have two good players in that position, Frimpong and Conor Bradley. But for the left position, I'm not really convinced Ashiga Kekes. Perhaps maybe it's just the all-around outfit that's still very much affecting. Maybe it's going to get in his stride, but so far so good. I think they have a balanced team.
All right, we understand that Zishan Said from the United Kingdom, and of course one of the world's top FPL managers, is now with us. Zishan, great to have you join us.
Thank you so much for having me here, and yeah, looking forward to talk FPL, talk football. We have quite a few things lined up, so yeah.
Yeah, let's hit the ground running. Taking a look at last season, what were the high points for you, and what really made it exciting for you, talking about last season, the EPL?
Right. So are we talking about EPL?
Yeah, EPL, the Premier League. Yeah, the English Premier League.
Yeah, I think last year, and just from a football perspective, right, it was quite a mixed bag, to be honest, and it's taken a toll, right. So one of the things that has been a big factor is the workload, right? The kind of fixtures that we are seeing, too many fixtures these days, and the players, I think they're getting injured left, right, and center. And I think the team that benefited the most from that was Liverpool. Obviously, they have a machine, African and Egypt legend Mo Salah, right? And he can stay fit for 38 games, and he was sort of running the show. So I feel even last year, Liverpool did have their problems, but Salah was so good. He was performing at that level. I think that was the best individual season that we've seen in a Premier League season ever. So that made the difference. And yeah, I think this year is going to be really interesting, Jerry. The teams around Liverpool have really strengthened. Man City are looking very strong. Arsenal are looking pretty strong as well. Chelsea will be right up there as well. So I believe it's going to be quite a title race this time.
All right, let's now hit the ground running. Are you expecting Liverpool to defend the Premier League this season? Are they still favourites?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jerry?
Is Liverpool still favourites without Trent Alexander-Arnold, Salah and Van Dijk are aging, and of course with the addition, do you still see them as favourites to win the league?
I honestly see what the news. If you look up any pundits' prediction, right? I know my fellow pundits have their opinions as well, and a lot of them are rating Liverpool as the favourites. Personally, I don't think they are the outright favourites because if you look at the team, right, currently, and they, according to me, are going through a transition. So if you look at the personnel in their team last time around, they had Jota, and we know, his unfortunate situation. May he rest in peace. Darwin Núñez is not a part of the club anymore, and Luis Diaz has left the club as well. Now these players, right, the kind of profile that they had. So Luis Diaz was really good at keeping the ball. Darwin Núñez and Jota, they had very good movement in the box. Even though they were not the best goal scorers, I think their profile really benefited Salah. And that was the major reason behind Liverpool's success last season. This year, they've made a lot of changes up front. So you look at Ekitike, for example, this Florian Wirtz. Another big factor for me is that Florian Wirtz will play the number 10 role. Last season, the player who played that role was Dominic Szoboszlai, who is very hard working on the ball, has very good work rate as well. Florian Wirtz is not going to do that. So I think all of these factors as a whole will affect Salah's output this season, and that could be a deciding factor in the title race. I don't look at them as outright favorites. I think, yes, they will be one of the teams in the title race alongside Man City and Arsenal. But if you ask me to pick an outright favorite right now, even though it's not a popular opinion, I think Manchester City are going to be the team to watch out for. Every time Pep Guardiola has a bad season, the very next season he kills it, right? He kills the competition. He has always been that kind of a manager. Erling Haaland is in great form, and I think that's going to be a very crucial factor behind City winning.
Behind him, yes. I mean, he's very experienced. He understands what it feels like, what it takes to actually rebuild a team. And yes, they are very much in the rebuilding phase. I think that's one area I was talking about earlier about Liverpool, where I said that Florian Wirtz will mostly be deployed on a wide area, because I don't really think he's going to actually break into that Liverpool midfield. If Arne Slot alter the Soboslai, Gravenberch, and McAllister's chemistry, is going to affect the team output. That's what it is. So, but for Man City, this is a rebuild. Last season, Rodri barely played. Towards the end of the season, Man City started getting their rhythm without Rodri. So it tells you that at this point, now Guardiola understands what it feels to actually play without Rodri. Now there's Tijani Rangers and Nico Gonzalez that played all through that towards the end of last season. So these guys are going to be manning the base. Bernardo Silva is going to be deployed right in the heart of the midfield this season, alongside Ryan Cherki, and of course this might also be that season where Foden is going to give Premier League that thing he gave them 2 seasons ago, where they won the league without Kevin De Bruyne, right, playing that number 10 role. So they've got a lot of options in that, and they've got a lot of experience winning the league at this stage. So yes, I think Zichen actually is actually making a very, very serious case for Manchester City winning the league this season. Of course, not forgetting Chelsea. Chelsea seems to be like a team that they don't have to do a lot of work, but they just have to get lucky and pick the maximum point where needed.
All right, somebody is forgetting something. Zishan, everybody's forgetting Arsenal in this conversation. Last year, they pushed hard, but they didn't get it. But now they have Goyo Corres. Or will United surprise us with their new attack? They have Benjamin Sesko, Mbuemo, and of course, Cunha, John Indo.
Yeah, I think Manchester United are going to be interesting this season. But just a heads up, I don't look at Manchester United as a title contender, because let's be honest, if you look at their performance last season, I think it was one of their worst performances ever in Manchester United's history. So yes, they have signed some good players, but to fill that gap, to get from that bottom half of the table to title contender, I think is too much in just one window. I think it's too much to ask for, but I think they are on the right track. They're building well. They have a world-class player in Bruno Fernandes, and I think he will do very well. I still feel that despite the new signings, right? I mean, Sesko is not a proven goal scorer. Mbeumo and Cunha did really well last season, so that really adds to the quality. But I think that one player that Manchester United still need is Baleba. Next to Bruno Fernandes. I think that's going to be very important, because if Bruno Fernandes has that kind of quality next to him in the midfield, it will allow him to express himself, and that will benefit Manchester United going forward. So I think that's going to be the key, but I definitely expect them to be in and around the top 6 spot. And yes, speaking of Arsenal, I think they have definitely strengthened. They finally have a number 9 in Gyökeres, who is a proven goal scorer. We saw it last season. But I think the more important factor here is that because they now have a presence at number 9 in Gyökeres, it will now allow Saka to perform better. And remember, Saka is their star man. If Arsenal are to win the league or finish anywhere in the top 2 or top 3, Bukayo Saka will have to be at his best. And I think Arsenal have made a move in the right direction by signing Gyökeres. He's going to draw some defenders in, and that will leave space for Saka to attack the box. And we all know Saka's creative quality, right? He is one of the top players in the league, and I expect that to continue, but he has to perform at a much higher level if he has to take Arsenal to the Premier League title this time.
All right, okay. Talking about the Premier League title this time, but let's take it from this point of view. Who are your favorites to win the league and make the top 4 this season?
If you ask me right now, I think I'll go in this order. I'll put Man City first, just because of the reasons that we have just discussed. I think Pep Guardiola, he's hurt after last season. So I think the kind of manager that he is, he will take it up on his ego, and he'll come up with the most evil plan ever known to mankind, right? And I'm talking from the point of view of other Premier League managers, I think they're going to have a hard time tackling what Pep Guardiola is going to come up with. He has Haaland, he has Ryan Cherky, he has a fit Foden available now, and all the new signings that we've just spoken about. So I think Manchester City will be the first, my title favorites. I'll put Arsenal at number 2. Chelsea would be my number 3 pick, and I'm going with Liverpool for the 4th spot. I know a lot of people will find it surprising, but I think Liverpool as a unit, they have a lot of defensive flaws this season. Alisson is not looking that sharp. Van Dijk has made a couple of mistakes in the Community Shield game. So I expect them to do well, but I'm going for a number 4 finish for Liverpool. Sorry, Liverpool fans.
Yeah, I think I'm heartbroken, Zishan. You just broke my heart. But I'll take it from you. But let me go to Ikechukwu with us here. The top 4 for you. Who wins the league for you this season?
Well, I would have said Liverpool again, but looking at the Liverpool squad, they don't seem to have depth in squad. If you remember last time Liverpool won the league, the following season the key players suffered injuries. And this is most likely going to happen considering the way they push themselves and considering the fact that many of them are aging. The Van Dijks, the Mo Salah, is bound to happen. And if it happens, who is going to lead the Liverpool team? That's the biggest problem now. I mean, any Liverpool fan that is expecting the Liverpool key players to be fit all through this season, the person is obviously not looking at Liverpool in the last 5 years or when Liverpool won the league last. That's exactly one thing. Not just even Liverpool, any team that's won the league before, the next season they suffer this sort of problem. And one thing that's helped Pep Guardiola over the last 4 years that won the league is he kept rebuilding his team, even if it's gradually. Every single team, every single player in his team had someone who can actually step in.
I don't think Liverpool is doing that. They still want to get Isak. They are getting Maguire.
Well, until that happens.
And Giovanni is just joined in.
Until that happens, right? Until that happens. Now, if you look at, like I said earlier on, Liverpool has a very good case for the right back. I think that is settled. Their left back is very shaky. That's a very big problem. Kekes is actually not shown what we saw last season. Perhaps he's still going to get into this team. But if something happens to Kekes, who's going to step in?
There's
right?
Robertson. There's Tsimikas.
We saw Tsimikas last season, Jerry.
Okay.
I'm not even looking at Tsimikas. Okay, Robertson, but then there are rumors that he might leave. But even if he decides to stay, Robertson is not that same player we've seen the last 2-3 seasons. Yeah. And for the heart of the defense, Van Dijk and Konate, well, come on, they don't have anyone who's going to step in. If anything happens, you're saying it's coming, but it's not here yet.
Yeah, the argument has been done. Fabrizio has already made
in the attack. Liverpool's the way they pressed last season, they're not going to press this season, and that's one of the reasons why Liverpool gave a lot of teams serious problem. Okay. Yes, you might say that you have problem with the conversion rate of the like of Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez, but these guys pressed opponents very well for Liverpool, and because they were able to press. Teams cannot, most teams these days like to actually start their rebuilding process from the back. They cannot rebuild, and Liverpool have a very workaholic midfield. It's helped them last season. If they don't have those guys this season, it's going to be a problem. So Man City seems to be the team with the biggest depth.
You think?
They have, yes.
What did they use to replace what we saw last season? What have they done differently?
Like I said, Tijani Rangers can comfortably sit in the number 6 row.
What about the fact that he doesn't have Premier League experience?
Jerry, we've seen players coming, and for a team that is already winning, they have that mentality. It's going to really settle in. It's all about settling.
I think he's not in winning position right now.
That's what I'm saying.
In a position where a lot of things are falling apart.
He's surrounded with players who have won the league. They know what it feels like to win the league. Mm-hmm. So that is going to come in handy for him. If it's a team that is not yet tested in this sort of race, right, then it's going to be a big problem. But he's coming in at the time where they have. I don't think there's any player apart from himself and Ryan Cherky, okay, perhaps Nico Gonzalez, who have not won the league in that particular squad. So it tells you how experienced and how exposed that team is, and it's going to come in handy for them. So, and in all areas, they have somebody who is going to come in and do a very good job, and that's where it's a league. If it's a cup competition, we'll say perhaps a few games, but in a league, it's a marathon. So you might just play the first 15 games, and when this thing starts crunching, you know how Pep Guardiola like to go all 12. In the last games, in the last 12 games of the season. So these things might might rarely come in handy at the end of the day. And the thing is, you only get to do this when you have players who can actually step in. You only have to get to do this when you have players who can actually really replace people and give the same quality. And I think Man City seems to be that team. And Arsenal has also done so well in the attack area. So that's why I'm really looking at Arsenal as a side that can actually come in right behind Man City. Then of course I'll look at Chelsea as well, and then maybe Liverpool.
Chelsea as well, maybe Liverpool. Okay, Zishan, Chelsea won the Club World Cup. How come nobody is talking about Chelsea winning the league? Because Chelsea looks like the hot favorite for me to win that league, except injuries crop up. Of course, they have the biggest squad right now in the Premier League.
Absolutely. I think people are not, talking about Chelsea because they are not used to watching Chelsea win the league anymore, right? So I think that's a psychological factor. When people are forming opinions, there tends to be a recency bias, if you would like to call it, because if you look at the recent title races, it's been Man City majorly, Liverpool winning a couple of titles, and Arsenal have been in the mix. So there's a reason why these teams are being discussed the most. But I have Chelsea finishing third in my prediction, and to be very honest with you, I think they are the team that can surprise us. They are the team that can tip expectations and go to the next level. And my reason is the man who plays the number 10 role for Chelsea, Cole Palmer. I think he's an outstanding player, a great talent. He's that player, where Pep Guardiola sort of keeps thinking about it and regrets selling him, because that's the level that he's hitting. He is a lot like De Bruyne, and he's also got a bit of Salah to him, right? So he can come up with the goals himself. He is very good in terms of creativity as well, so he can create goals. Now he has a partner in Joao Pedro, and remember Liam Delap, right? Even though he's not first choice, but he's still a very, very good striker. So Chelsea have that luxury. So if they build around Palmer, which they have been doing, in the last couple of seasons, and if Palmer performs at that level, where we saw Mo Salah perform last season, I think we're looking at a 30-35 goal contribution season from Palmer. I think Chelsea will surprise everyone, and they could go on to win the league. But it's down to one single factor. Cole Palmer has to stay fit all season, and just like Bukayo Saka, right? I think if Cole Palmer brings his A game, gets those 20-25 league goals, comes up with 10-15 assists, no one can stop Chelsea in terms of surprising everyone and winning the title.
Yeah, talking about...
And remember, Chelsea were not favourites for the Club World Cup as well. So I think it's a Chelsea thing to do, right? Where you're not expecting them to win. They will surprise. They won against all odds in the Club World Cup.
Yeah, talking about being the underdog. Yeah, you're riding on Chelsea, being a Chelsea fan this season after running away from Manchester United. You're not giving Chelsea any chances.
Well, the reason why I actually chose place Chelsea third is because I look at that Chelsea team. I've not really seen any real leader, right? And that's a problem for any team that wants to win the league. There must be someone who is way above the curve. I think they're very much the level at Chelsea is very flat, and that's my concern. I mean, if you must win the league, there must be someone who is actually leading. Yes, you might have all of the talents, but a good team is a perfect blend of experience and the quality, age and young. So that Chelsea team seems very flat, and that's where the problem. That's the problem I have. Again, in winning the Premier League, another factor you have to also consider is that the experience. Winners. The winner mentality must be in a winner must be in that particular team. Maybe this Club World Cup they won might just be that sport they need to actually go to the next level. Maybe, but then I'm still looking at that team. Yes, they're very good. It might just happen for them. It might just be like the season Leicester City won the league, where other teams, heavyweights in the league, actually were not in good shape or not in good form, and they just run through it. But if the status quo remain like it has always been the last 5 years, I don't think they are going to actually make the title based on that single fact that they do need to have someone who can actually inspire them above the cup, because of course, like I said, the team is very, very flat.
All right, let's look at the dark horses, because we'll be getting to the Fantasy Premier League aspect of the show. Let's look at the teams that might pop up surprises this season. Okay, there's Tottenham, who has always been pretenders. There's Newcastle United, who did well last season, making the top 4. They also won the FA Cup title, and was it the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, beating Liverpool to the Carabao Cup title. these two teams, and of course Nottingham Forest last season, pulled up some surprises. At some point in time, they were looking like they were going to be contenders for even top four, and even sometimes some say, can they do the Leicester City? But it didn't happen. Zishan, who do you think is going to be the dark horse this season? Or are we seeing Manchester United somehow making the top four or in a title race?
Right. I think top four will be too ambitious for Manchester United for the reasons that we've already spoken. I think it will be too big a step up. Yes, if they end up signing, Baleba, which I don't think is happening given, the recent reports that I've read today. So I'm ruling them out of top four, to be honest. The dark horse out of the teams that we just mentioned, right? I think Nottingham Forest are going to have a hard time. Their manager has spoken about how they are not in very good shape. The kind of players that they wanted to sign, they've not been able to achieve that. They'll have to manage, two competitions, which is going to be a little hard as well. Same with Newcastle, they have a fear of losing out on Isak, which is really big. Remember, Isak has scored most of their goals last season, so that's a big loss. And replicating that becomes a challenge. We may or may not see Nicholas Jackson joining Newcastle. That's a different story. But as things stand, it's not really looking good. I would say that Spurs would be my pick in terms of dark horses. They may surprise everyone, and the reason is their manager, Thomas Frank. He's done a great job at Brentford. We have all seen how good the Brentford side has been, and he's created stars. I mean, the reason why Mbumo got his Manchester United move is a lot of that is down to the trust that Thomas Frank showed, during his Brentford days. And I think, he is trying to create this culture of, stability at Spurs, right? If you look at their PSG game, yes, they ended up conceding 2 late goals and, they lost that game. But throughout those 70 minutes, they looked very compact. There's a lot of discipline, and the shape they kept that, that was really good. Remember, Dominic Solanke will come back soon for them. They're about to sign. There are rumors that Eze, might be coming in, and he's a very good player as well. So I think if you consider all the factors with the kind of tactics the manager is trying to instill at the club, and the manager himself, I think they could be the ones to watch out for if you're looking at the dark horse of the Premier League this season.
All right. Okay, let me go to Keshiko. What are going to be the dark horses for you?
I think I'll agree with Zichen on this one. Tottenham Hotspur seems to be like that team that is ready to actually push above their weight this season. Considering the acquisition, Kudus, they're looking at Eze, the outlook of the team, and of course how they actually fired out against PSG is, I think it should be a glimmer for football analysts to actually really look at that team, because they showed no fear, they showed no respect, they came in all out for that particular trophy, and we saw how they actually took their chance. So it was a very good game, and if you look at that manager, of course, Thomas Frank, if you've been following the Premier League, you know that he's a man who is a very, very brilliant manager. With the team, with what he actually did with Brentford, and bringing that into a Tottenham that has a bigger budget, it tells you that they're really going to do very well. Well, Newcastle can still come back to, I think they become a traditional big side now in England. So that's why perhaps a lot of persons will be expecting them to either push, above what we've seen. Tottenham, level dropped in the last couple of years. That's exactly why we're looking at it this way. But Tottenham Hotspur and Thomas Frank, I think they have what it takes to actually, push above their belts this season. Perhaps they might even give a very good shot for top four. But their problem is going to come down to how fit their players will be all through the season, because depth in the league race is as crucial as, the number of talents that you have. So aside that, again, this Premier League this season, like I said before, it's going to be a battle of wit for managers. And Thomas Frank, I think, is one manager who can actually hold his own when it comes to big games. So I think it's going to be Tottenham for me.
All right, you think it's going to be Tottenham for you? Okay. And of course, we're getting to the most interesting part of the show, and talking about the Fantasy Premier League fans and those who are looking forward to who they will pick as far as the goalkeepers, the defenders, the midfielders, and the attack. Well, let's take a look at the fixtures this weekend before we go into the FPL proper. The fixtures definitely did the curtain raiser. Liverpool up against Bournemouth. That's happening at Anfield. Zishan, what are your expectations? Is it going to be a blockbuster game to look forward to that will give us something, a peek of what it's going to look like this season?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's going to be a blockbuster start to the season, and there are many reasons to that, right? Starting from the opponent that Liverpool are facing. Listen, if you look at the Premier League and you want to pick two teams that will score the most goals in the league, you look at Liverpool and you look at Man City. So one of those teams is playing this game at home against a Bournemouth side that have lost most of their first team defenders. Remember, they've lost most of their key defenders to the likes of Real Madrid, to, of course, Liverpool. Kirkes is now a Liverpool player. They've lost another key defender to PSG as well. So they will be quite thin at the back, and Liverpool have the firepower to sort of get started. Uh, I think Salah, he is on penalties, but I'm not very sure of him doing that well this season. So I am betting on Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike to score those big goals and Liverpool to start off with a bang. That's my feeling about this opening fixture.
All right. Okay.
Well, I mean, if you look at Liverpool's last 5 games against Bournemouth, Liverpool was won all of it, and it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be any different to today. Liverpool is most likely going to win that game again. And considering last season, Liverpool actually created the most chance, in the Premier League, and that's why they were actually able to actually win the league. I mean, chances that can actually get you goals at about 66, closely followed by Manchester City, and of course Arsenal is not even in the top 10. But if you look at that Liverpool side against this Bournemouth side, and one thing I know about Premier League champion, especially big side, when they go into a new season, they want to make a statement, especially when they're actually going against a team that is not in the traditional top 6. Trust me, Liverpool is going to actually smoke them, and it's a good way to start for them.
All right, it's a good way to start for them. And of course, other fixtures, the blockbuster one has to be the one on Sunday. Arsenal versus Manchester United. Zishan, you've not told me the club you're a fan of. Definitely, maybe we'll take it off of there before we take a look at who's going to win this blockbuster Super Sunday fixture between Arsenal and Manchester United.
First game to call, right? See, one of the reasons is that if you look at this season, the kind of break that players have had, they've not had a big break. But these two teams, right, United and Arsenal, they were not a part of the Club World Cup. That means they had that extra 2 or 3 weeks to themselves. So you expect them to look sharper. Both teams have had, their share of preseason games as well. So I think they'll be raring to go. My feeling is that we may not see a lot of goals in this game. It could be a very, very tight game. Amarim will be very wary of the fact that it's a new team, and the last thing you want is you don't really want to attack Arsenal and get punished on the counter, because this Arsenal side is really good at doing that. Especially someone like Bukayo Saka and Gyökeres as well, right? He has the ability to run in behind defenses. So I think that will be constantly a factor that will be in the mind of Ruben Amorim, the Manchester United manager. So this one could be a KG battle. I'm looking at maybe a 1-1 sort of a game where it ends up in a draw.
All right, Zishan, you're a fan of which club?
Sorry?
Zishan, you're a fan of which club? Which club do you support?
I support Manchester City, but
Wow.
trust me, that my views are obviously not backed by any sort of bias. I think
I
if you
understand.
just look at
I understand. I don't see the UB, but I just wanted to know, okay? A Man City fan. Wow, that's quite rare. Anyway, to have Man City fans all over, but it is what it is. But let's now look at the Fantasy Premier League this season. Zishan, how did you do it? How did you make the top 20 at a point in time? What did you do differently? What made you stand out? And what are you looking forward to this season that's going to be different? Let's talk about how you made it to top 20.
So what worked for me when I finished top 20 in the world, right, was the key is that if you're looking for a higher finish, you need to make sure that you have the top scorers who they're consistently scoring goals. So you're looking at players like Salah, players like Haaland. So I had those teams, players in my team already. How you can achieve a higher finish like a top 20 or a top 10 or a top 100 in the world is by making that right. So every now and then in Fantasy Premier League, the nature of the game, right, you will have an opportunity where you can go against the crowd and make it work. So this particular game week that we're talking about, right? There was a game week where there was an opportunity to captain Trent Alexander-Arnold, who is a defender in Fantasy Premier League. As a player, I was aware that he's very good when it comes to bonus points. So all he needed was one assist to get a double-digit return, which he did, and that worked in my favor. So that was a great season. And so my advice would be to make sure that you are covered well. I would like to call it the shield picks, right? So I look at FPL and I divide the kind of players into two types of players. One is your shield players, so your highly owned players like Salah, like Palmer, and even to an extent someone like a Joao Pedro or a Haaland. And you have some sword players, right? So I look at these players that you can use to attack some particular fixture. So, maybe one of the top player with a lower ownership when they're playing a side like Sunderland or Burnley or maybe Wolves who are struggling. So there is the opportunity, that little window, to go ahead of the crowd and captain them in one of these weeks. So I think that is something that has worked well for me. And that's always been a factor for me. So yeah, this season also, if you can head over to my Twitter account, you can have a look at my team, and you've pulled up a team on the screen, Jerry?
Yeah, that was actually mine. I just wanted us to see, maybe you can give me some tips ahead of the game tonight, because that's the goalkeeping area. I have Jordan Pickford and Sels. Sels was awesome last season, and definitely you want to have him in your goal. And of course, Pickford and Sels for you, Zishan.
Yeah, I think Pickford is slightly on the higher side, and one thing to remember is that you're not going to play both the goalkeepers each and every week. So maybe you can downgrade, take Pickford out, and get in Dubravka, who's at just 4 million. So that way you end up saving 1.5 million that you can invest in the rest of the team. Similarly, I would say for your other defenders as well, you can go with maybe one or two defenders who are at the 4 million price. So there is Rodon from Leeds who comes at 4 million, and he's expected to start the first game. There is Steve from Burnley who's again at a similar price, and he's expected to start game week 1 as well. So what happens is you can rely on these cheap players every now and then, but at the same time you're not spending a lot of money on those players. Similarly, in your midfield you can go for someone like Granit Xhaka, who's priced at just 5 million. He also gets points for making defensive contribution, and he has a free kick goal in him every now and then. So that makes him a good pick. So I think just trying to find the right balance is what I would like to say to the audience. And just a heads up, Mohamed Salah is, I think, the second highest owned player in the game. So going against him is a little bit of a challenge. So I would advise try to maybe Cole Palmer as well. Cole Palmer is the highest owned player in the game, so you need to have these players and then build around them, is what my advice would be.
Well, but Salah is very expensive. He said that he has talked to the FPL managers to reduce his fee. 14, that's a lot of money, 14 million pounds. And Erling Haaland, you have Super Erling Haaland. So how do you get the two of them, at least one? Yeah.
I think you definitely have to go for Cole Palmer. I would say he's not as expensive as Salah. Cole Palmer comes in at just 10.5, so I think it's important to have him. I think you need to have Haaland because you need to captain one of these players, right? So Haaland, I think if you have to bet money on a player to win the Golden Boot at the end of the season, I think Haaland is your best bet. So I think you pick Haaland, you pick Cole Palmer, and then you build around these players. And always keep in mind that you need to select a group of 11 best players that will play for you week in, week out, and have some cheap gems at 4 million and keepers like Dubravka who will stay on your bench and come on if needed. So I think that is the key when you're trying to set up the right fantasy Premier League team if you want to finish top 20, top 100, maybe top 1000, or maybe if all works out well, end up winning it all.
All right, Zishan, okay, taking a look at, okay,
so Zishan, from the way you're sounding, it sounded like there's a direct relationship between marketing vis-a-vis data to understanding how FPL works. And if that's the case, is there a source where people can actually get data to actually understand how to actually place or get the best players? Because sometimes during the season, players get injured, and then people get into panic buy, aggressive purchase, and then get to mess up their team. So how do you, at that point, find the right balance to actually ensure that your team continues?
I have been playing this game for the last 10 years. So back when I played, there were not a lot of data sources available, but now times are different. Luckily, the Premier League website itself these days is very much out there. There's a lot of information out there if you want to look at the data. Now, one thing is you can look at the raw data. You can look at how many goals Haaland has scored, how many goals Salah has scored. But if you want to succeed in Fantasy Premier League, if you want to succeed in FPL, the key is to look at the underlying data. So the parameters that I like to look at is expected goals, that is the XG factor. That will help you identify which player is getting into the best positions when it comes to scoring goals. And that gives you a better understanding of, okay, this player might actually end up scoring more goals than another player who may not have that good of an XG. So in terms of sources, if you want to, just look up, do your own research, I rely on tools like FBref. It's a great website. It has a lot of data that is free to use out there. There are also football apps like SofaScore where you can just go through the data. But dedicated to fantasy, there are a couple of really good fantasy Premier League websites, dedicated websites. It's like a community. So there is Fantasy Football Hub and there is Fantasy Football Scout. You can just head over to these platforms. They obviously have sort of a membership that you need to look at. So if you're that kind where you don't want to do your free research, you don't have that kind of time, I think you can head over to these tools, get the membership, and you can just look at these data. So yeah, I think the most important data for me is you look at the underlying data, the expected goals a player has accumulated from last season. That will give you an idea of how well they will do this season. Same for creativity data, what kind of chances they are creating. Instead of looking at the assist number directly, try to understand how many chances a player is creating, how many chances they have created last season. Similarly, when you want to look at a cheaper midfielder, right? They also get rewarded for defensive contributions. So try to look at their ball recovery data. If it's a midfielder that's making 7 to 8 ball recoveries, that's a good pick. Same with the clean sheet. I would say if you're picking defenders, don't go by the raw data in terms of clean sheets from last season. See what their underlying numbers were, and that will give you a better idea, and that will help you pick the right defenders for your FPL team.
Right.
It's really a lot. It means that you need to be marketing inclined to really understand how to play this game.
Yeah.
If you get a hang of it, right? It's
fun.
You just take it from there. And you need to have a knack for it. So what attracted me to the game when I was a teenager, I've always been a marketing guy. I mean, I had the marketing operations at my firm as well, and I work in content. So you have that creative flair as well, right? So that is the reason why I'm always trying to find that out of the box pick player in FPL. But honestly, once you get going, right, it becomes easy and you start enjoying it.
Yeah, you start enjoying it. And of course, I'm looking forward to maybe topping your league this season, because I've already put in. I know something is up at the end of the season, and I think if I'm looking at your game week 1 team, I'm seeing you captain Erling Haaland, and you have Ollie Watkins and Ekitike. Yeah, why Ekitike? You think he's going to score goals this weekend, today?
Absolutely. It's the same reason, which I mentioned while we were discussing Liverpool, right? So if I look at Liverpool's shape this season, and we saw a glimpse of that in the Community Shield game, versus Crystal Palace. Yes, you see, from a footballing point of view, I am not sure if I rate Ekitike that higher. I think he's a net negative for Liverpool. But if I talk from the Fantasy Premier League perspective, he will score goals. So whether or not Liverpool are doing well is irrelevant to the fact that Ekitike may score goals. So I think that is my factor. I think because he's the player who's closest to the goal. Remember, in previous seasons, it was Mo Salah who was closest to the goal. This time, with the kind of player he is, Ekitike, I think he'll be the one who will be the closest to the goal, along with Florian Wirtz, who will be in those central areas. So that is my reason why I think he will do well. He's coming at a very good price of 8.5 million, so that's 6 million less compared to Mo Salah. So what I'm doing is I'm going for Ekitike, I'm going for Florian Wirtz, and I'm going for Cody Gakpo. So a lot of eggs in the basket, and I am hoping that Liverpool run riot against Bournemouth.
All right, definitely for you to gather the points. All right, Zishan, it's been awesome having you. And of course, we look forward to having you on subsequent editions to talk FPL and also talk about the English Premier League and loads of football action. And I must say, you've done excellently well on your debut.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, lovely talking football and FPL. And speak to you guys soon.
All right, speak to you very soon, definitely. And of course, it's been awesome having you as well.
Thank you, Jerry, for having me.
All right, and of course, big thanks to those who made the show great, talking about the team and not leaving out the likes of Manfred, as well as talking about Sam, and as well as Paul, and not leaving out Ike, who's an Arsenal fan anyway. He's been looking forward for us to say Arsenal is going to win the league somehow, but you have to work hard for it. Definitely not about wishful thinking. All right, from the razzmatazz of opening night to the long green ahead, the 2025-2026 Premier League season promises drama, goals, and glory. And big thanks to the guys, Ikechukwu and Zishan Said, joining us from the United Kingdom to take a look at what to look forward to tonight and, of course, this weekend. I am Jerry Alpelio, and this has been Locker Room. Enjoy the football, enjoy the fantasy points, and we'll see you next time. And up next is Political Lens with Chukwumakoro. Stay tuned.